Now at Verizon, we have some big news for your peace of mind. For all our customers, existing and new, we're locking in low prices for 3 years guaranteed on My Plan and My Home. That's future you peace of mind. And everyone can save on a brand new phone on My Plan when you trade in any phone from one of our top brands. That's new phone peace of mind. Because at Verizon, whether you're already a customer or you're just joining us, we got you. Visit Verizon today. Price guarantee applies to then current base monthly rate. Additional terms and conditions apply for all offers.
6 months from now, you could be running a 5K, booking that dream trip, or seeing thicker, fuller hair every time you look in the mirror. Through Hers, you can get dermatologist-trusted, clinically proven prescriptions with ingredients that go beyond what over-the-counter products offer. Whether you prefer oral or topical treatments, Hers has you covered. Getting started is simple. Just fill out an intake form online and a licensed provider will recommend a customized plan just for you. The best part? Everything is 100% online. If prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. No pharmacy trips, no waiting rooms, and no insurance headaches. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/deal. That's FORHERS.com/deal. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Hello and welcome to mini episode number 438 of Real Life Ghost Stories, and I have 3 spooky stories for you today, and the last story comes from the 9th of January 2025, and story number 1 comes from Ella. In 2021 we unfortunately had to put my beautiful childhood dog to sleep. He was named Bo and was a liver and white English Springer Spaniel. He was 15 when he was put to sleep, and he had had a very full, long life with us. He was full of beans and often got himself into trouble. The day he had been put to sleep, my partner and I decided to go out to a local pub for some food. This was a pub we would walk Bo to, as it was on the other side of a park we frequented with him. My partner and I were sat chatting away when I stopped mid-sentence, because I swear to God, there was the feeling of a wagging tail hitting my chair. I had stopped talking and looked down as I genuinely expected to see a dog sitting there. The feeling was so distinct. Obviously, when I looked down, there was nothing there. I like to imagine that this was Bo coming back to tell me that it was okay and that he was okay. One detail I'd like to mention is that about 5 or 6 years prior to this, Bo lost his tail in some kind of accident, and he had it docked really short. I like to think he now has his tail back and is back in the prime of his life, flying around a park somewhere in the afterlife. Another story I'd like to tell you only happened a week or so ago. It involves some technology, and I've been thinking hard trying to figure out how to find a rational explanation. So if you can think of one, please let me know. Now, it was the dead of night, 1:47 a.m. Myself and my partner were asleep in bed together, and I'd both been asleep for hours at this point, when my phone started going off. Naturally, it woke me up. When I looked at the screen, it said the person calling was my partner, who was laid sound asleep next to me. In my half-asleep state, I declined the call and mumbled at my partner that he was calling me, to which he apologised. This is all recorded on a voicemail that was automatically left when I declined the call. We both fell asleep almost instantaneously and didn't really give this any further thought until the morning. But now I can't stop thinking about how weird this was. We have iPhones with face recognition, so to make a call he would have had to unlock his phone in his sleep and somehow open the call log or contacts to call me, which doesn't seem possible in his sleep. Yet another story of pets being the best thing that's ever happened to any of us, because that's what they are. Many moons ago, I remember an extended member of my family died, and I was speaking to another family member about what happens, after you die. Obviously, these conversations come up when people die, right? And they were sort of asking if there is an afterlife, if there's a heaven, say, what version of the person that died gets to go there? Is it the version that died that was, older, maybe ill, not at their peak, not at their prime? Or is it a version of them where they were at their prime? And I think that this story answers that question, because that dog got his tail back. And what more could any of us want from life than hearing a story about a dog who gets to wag his tail again? It's like a Disney special, you know? And as for your sleep story, it sounds like the call was coming from another universe, another dimension. Another version of your partner in another world was ringing another you, and somehow the lines got crossed. Although in saying that, right, this isn't me trying to dismiss your story, because I think if people have parasomnia, like any sort of sleep disturbances issues, you know about it pretty early on. But I was watching a TikTok the other day of a girl who her husband has started filming her when she's sleepwalking, and she be doing mad shit at night time when she's sleepwalking, like up making full meals, the whole lot. I mean, those full meals are like a peeled onion, some jellies and soy sauce, you know what I mean? But she's up actively doing stuff in her sleep and can't remember any of it. I just think it's wild what happens in people's brains at night time, you know? Although I do think, genuinely, you know, you turned over your partner's asleep beside you, you would have seen the phone lighting up if he had been calling you in his sleep, you know what I mean? So I think it's another universe, another dimension, another timeline. And story number 2 comes from Maria. I hesitated to write this email because I always told myself that maybe my memory is blurry. I mean, I was a child when everything happened, or when I heard about it. But after visiting my dad this past November and talking to him and another family member, I realised that I remember it pretty good. I want to say that I was born and raised in Romania, in a small village in Transylvania, where the faith in God and superstitions are divided by a really thin line, especially back in the day when I was a kid, even more so when my parents were kids. My neighbour, that was my mom's godmother, was the type of woman that knew everything and everyone, a wise woman. A lot of people turned to her for advice and whatnot, from home remedies to pie recipes. And me and her nephew, being nosy, kept asking her to tell us real paranormal stories. One day she caved, and that's how I found out that apparently my great uncle was cursed by the devil himself. He was working in the fields, and when he came back he found a small black cat in the middle of the road. He took the cat and put it in the carriage, but the carriage wouldn't move anymore. He tried to command his horse, but nothing happened. It was then that he took the cat and threw it out of the carriage. When he did that, the horse started running, and that's when he allegedly heard the cat laughing like a human and told him that he will be punished for this. The next day, he couldn't use his arms anymore. Basically, he was paralysed. Was it a curse? Or was it alcohol and he fell? I don't know, but I remember it keeping me from touching cats that I didn't know for a long time. She also, let's say, healed my father's cousin. He was really sick as a child, around 2 or 3 years old. The parents got desperate after seeking help from the doctors and the priest, and nothing worked. They almost gave up, but someone told them to do the following ritual. They should sell their child to a woman that is young and has healthy kids, and that child would be healed. The catch was that the deal was supposed to be done over a window, because only dead kids go out the door. So basically, she went one evening to my father's aunt's house and waited by the window. The aunt opened the window and said that she would like to sell the child because she doesn't want him anymore. At that moment, my mom's godmother took the child, gave his mom some coins, and when the window was closed, she said some prayers, and then she yelled that his mom would come to the door and told her that she has this child. She had renamed the child with a saint's name so that he would be protected and the bad spirits would lose his trail, and that she wasn't able to take care of them. His real mom then took the child, and apparently in a couple of days he was healthy again. He also went by his new given name to this day, even though on his birth certificate and ID he has his old name. I also have my own story. I adored my grandpa, my mom's dad. He was awesome. Took care of me, let me literally play with fire because I was obsessed with it, and thought that if he let me do it, I would eventually be bored with it. I wasn't. He used to also write in chalk on the concrete in front of my house. We lived in different houses but shared the same yard. He would write, "Maria, stay inside at night or I'm going to get you. Signed, the Boogeyman." He tried to scare me into not going out in the evenings because all I wanted to do was pet a fox that I saw one evening outside, and my parents couldn't deal with it anymore. It was the only thing that worked. He died 18 years ago, and my mom found an envelope with money and my name on it, and a note that was for my mom. And it said that if she doesn't give me the money when he dies, he will haunt her. I miss him every day. I think everyone that had TikTok in the pandemic time was one way or another seeing the tarot readers, crystal people, everyone and everything dealing with energy and spirituality. I saw a psychic and decided to go to Etsy and ask about a reading. Something like that. I remember talking with a friend about the reading, and we looked over some other things on Etsy and went down a rabbit hole of dark magic. There were a lot of spells and rituals offered, seeing some demon names and those kind of things. I just thought, okay, that's interesting, but I would never do it. Or would I? Just for a split second. I went home from my friend, and on the same night I had a dream. I need to say I think I've dreamed about my grandpa like 2 times before, so it's not something I usually dream. And in that dream I was back at home, and my grandpa came to me and told me that I should stop being stupid and stop searching for the devil, because it will find me and I will regret it. And then he had to go. I deleted my Etsy account and made a new one, where the only things that I search are jewellery and wall art. I'm going to say this now, right? Them witches on Etsy. Listen, you might think it's all fun and games, but it is not. If you're somebody who's been on Patreon for a long time, this is not some sort of ploy to get people to sign up to the Patreon, because I have deleted the episode, so you're never going to hear it. If you're somebody who's been on Patreon for a long time, you will know about my experience with Etsy psychics. You will know. And let me tell you how I laughed at that reading at the time. But looking back on it, it wasn't that funny. So I'd be wary if I were people who go onto Etsy and get readings and spells and stuff from people. That's not to say, I'm going to put it out there, I know there's lots of really decent people that are out there on Etsy doing spiritual stuff. That's not what I mean. But I just mean, be careful, do your research. Don't think things are really funny when in hindsight they might not actually be. I love old traditions and superstitions. I mean, I will say that similar to Transylvania in Ireland, there is a sort of a thin line between Catholicism and superstitions and old ways of thinking and old magic. There is a really thin line, and those things now have been like mixed up and they're kind of intermeshed together. And I love these old stories about curses and stuff, you know, and we all know that if the devil is going to take a form, it's going to be a black cat. And I say that with absolute love. As the owner of a black cat, the proud owner of a black cat. I say owner, I'm not his owner, he owns me. But as the proud mother of a black cat, they are evil. That's just the way it is, okay? They're evil, they're menaces to society, you know, dressed up in a lovely little ball of black fur. So I'd well believe it that it was the devil in the form of a black cat that came to your uncle. I love these old stories. And then it's, you know, the horse moves, he's paralysed. Is that what caused him being paralysed, or was it something else? Is that just a story that gets told? And as you guys know, if you've been around here for a while, I have a serious vested interest in, you know, these wise women and wise men, people who have the cure, people who know beyond kind of modern Western medicine how to cure various illnesses, whether it's prayers, whether it's, you know, a particular ritual. And I'm really fascinated by it. I've said it before, it's a massive part of rural Irish culture. It still is. And I am really interested in these rituals and remedies that have existed for, you know, hundreds of years. I also love your granddad being like writing in chalk outside the house, if you don't stay inside at night, I'm going to get you, signed, the boogeyman. I love it. I mean, that is like the last attempt of some very frustrated people to keep a kid inside at night time, right? And like I said, your granddad was right to come to you in a dream and be like, stay away from that dark Etsy magic shit, because you do not know what you're getting yourself into.
6 months from now, you could be running a 5K, booking that dream trip, or seeing thicker, fuller hair every time you look in the mirror. Through Hers, you can get dermatologist-trusted, clinically proven prescriptions with ingredients that go beyond what over-the-counter products offer. Whether you prefer oral or topical treatments, Hers has you covered. Getting started is simple. Just fill out an intake form online and a licensed provider will recommend a customized plan just for you. The best part? Everything is 100% online. If prescribed, your treatment ships right to your door. No pharmacy trips, no waiting rooms, and no insurance headaches. Plus, treatments start at just $35 a month. Start your initial free online visit today at forhers.com/deal. That's FORHERS.com/deal. Compounded products are not FDA approved or verified for safety, effectiveness, or quality. Prescription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan. See website for full details, restrictions, and important safety information.
Are you a homeowner looking to sell your home fast and want your cash now? How about getting cash for your home twice? Hi, I'm Sarah Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Empower Home Team with Keller Williams. Our cash offer stands above the rest. With our cash offer, you get the majority of your funds based on your home's value right away. That's right, cash in the bank within days. We will then sell your home for top dollar and you get the rest. Yes, with our cash offer, you get paid not only once, but twice. Call us now at 703-637-SOLD or go to DebbieHasTheBuyers.com.
And story number 3 today comes from Pete. I was about 13 at the time. I woke up in the middle of the night at around 2:30 and something felt off. I tried to shut my eyes and go back to sleep, but I just couldn't settle. Something wasn't right. I was laying on my side and I got the urge to look at the foot of my bed, which was when I noticed the figure watching me. Standing silently at the end of my bed was what looked to be a cowled monk, arms folded across its stomach, hands inside the sleeves of brown robes, and head bowed and its face entirely in shadow. It was clear and real. I could see how the orange glow from the sodium streetlights outside my bedroom sliced through my blinds into alternating strips of orange light and black shadow across the folds of the brown robes. I was immediately startled, but that sensation was almost instantly soothed by a sense that there was no threat, there was no danger. Like if a friend jump scares you, you get the flash and rush of fear, but it quickly fades. So I just stared at it, puzzled for a few seconds, and then rolled over and shut my eyes and eventually went back to sleep. I know this story is a big fat cliche, but it is what it is. My rational mind says it had to be a dream, but I've had weird dreams in the past, and even sleep paralysis. No demons though. But I've never had a dream that felt like that before or since. A couple of years ago, I was on a family holiday in a little old fishing village in South Devon. We had rented an ancient but lovely fisherman's cottage just off the beach. It was all low ceilings, 3 feet thick walls, and up until fairly recently it had been thatched. Lots of character and really welcoming. One morning my niece and nephews came to knock for my kids as they were all excited about another day on the beach. Just as we were leaving, my 3-year-old niece declares that she wanted a bowl of cereal. So, like any good uncle, I do as I'm told and fetch her a bowl of Rice Krispies while my wife takes the rest of the kids across to the beach. Sat at the table, my niece and I engage in the usual sort of small talk you make with a 3-year-old. Who's going to make the best sandcastle? Who can eat the most ice cream? You get the picture. Then she casually asks me a question. Sarah, looking past me over my shoulder, said, "Who's that?" And I said, "Who's who, sweetheart?" Sarah, now pointing behind me, "Who's that there?" I turned and looked over my shoulder. The room we were in was the main living dining room. On one side of the room was the dining table at which we were sitting, me with my back to the rest of the room, which contained a sofa, armchair, small TV, and a large deep fireplace that you could almost stand in. Sarah had pointed at the area beside the fireplace, but we were the only people in it. I looked back at Sarah confused, and she looked back at me as she happily slurped down spoonfuls of cereal. Then she looked past me at the same spot as before and said, "They're waving." I looked around again and the room was still empty, but I confessed that I was more than a little freaked out at this point. All I could think to do was ask her, do they look happy or cross? My logic being, are we dealing with something friendly or not friendly? To my relief, she, still looking beyond me, said, "Happy." And with that I suggested that we go to the beach. But as we left, we waved to the empty space by the fireplace just in case. Being on the ground floor at the time, a good old-fashioned drop-kicking down the stairs wasn't an option. But as creepy kid encounters go, this was a doozy. I'm sorry, Pete, but I did not raise no quitters listening to this podcast, okay? So in that instance, the advice would be to then bring the child upstairs and then commence with the drop kicking down the stairs. I would like to make it clear that that is a joke. I do not condone any violence against children, okay? Unless they're being particularly creepy, at which point, listen, they've made their bed. Again, I'm joking. Please don't drop kick any children. That is creepy though, right? I mean, especially you're kind of mid-morning, you know what I mean? In a little fishing village and you're like, oh, let's get some Rice Krispies, blah, blah, blah. It's not the time that you're expecting for the kid to be like, there's a ghost, there's somebody sitting waving at us in the room. It also suggests that the entity, spirit, ghost, whatever it was aware that Sarah could see it and was therefore communicating with her directly, you know? It's kids, man. Kids have that uncanny ability, we know that, to tap into a spiritual world, to see things differently. And I have to say, Pete, right, your story about waking up and seeing a monk at the end of the bed when you were 13, the bit that got me in that story, and I'm really glad you added it in, was when you said, I could see how the orange glow from the sodium streetlights outside my bedroom sliced through my blinds into alternating strips of orange light and black shadow across the folds of the brown robes. That suggests that that monk was something real and solid in that moment that you could see, because the world around it was reacting to it. You know what I mean? Like that light was hitting something in your room. Oh, and that description, chef's kiss, beautiful, well done, well written. And it's amazing that you then were like, oh, okay, this is no threat to me. Fine, brilliant. I'm just going to roll over and go back to sleep. I don't feel scared. I feel quite soothed. We're fine. Whatever this is okay. It doesn't really sound like a big fat cliche, to be honest. In the grand scheme of things, I would personally rather not wake up to a monk at the end of my bed. You know what I mean? And I'm sure the majority of listeners here would not want to wake up to a monk at the end of their bed. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Thank you to Ella, Maria and Pete for sending in your stories. Remember, the last story came from the 9th of January 2025. And if you would like to send in your story, you can do so by emailing it to reallifeghoststoriespodcast@gmail.com. You can also check out the website reallifeghoststoriespodcast.com. And if you are desperate for some extra content, you can subscribe to the Patreon. That is patreon.com/reallifeghoststories, where for $5 a month or $2 a month, you can get access to heaps of extra content, as well as every single main and mini episode completely ad-free. And on that note, I shall see you next time.